Yes, 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 you've made it to the best. It's the Koopa, it's the guy, it's the one with the fries. Um, I don't have fries right now, but I'm about to fry your brain with this knowledge that I'm dropping. Today we're priesting. We're priesting. We're priestly. We're beastly. We're meeting the best of the priest. Um, the priest master in this episode. Well, I mean, we already met them, but essentially, we're helping out. I'll start with spoilers. So, spoilers. I'll start with the story spoilers. This time, we're gonna finish off the priestly quest and do some wonderful, wonderful things with the idol, solve some diseases, get some wood, and we'll form more of a bond, more of a family with our priest community here. And I really do like the fact that being a priest kind of involves you going at multiple quest givers, doing, it's more like a community quest thing. You're not kind of just working for, some master priest. And as a matter of fact, the master priest, potentially, the best priest here, who actually isn't even in this map. They reside in I don't even think they are an NPC on the map besides in Tree Shade Village in the tent. But essentially, they're out on the field in brass tacks doing what they can do to actually make things better, But essentially, I'm tangenting hard. Story spoilers is the disease breaks out and we don't know how to cure it, but we can't get rid of the idol because it's sacred. It has been in here for generations, but we do get rid of the idol to go make new wood in order to cure people of this disease. And then at first it's good, but then getting rid of the idol shows that there is an evil god in there, and then we have to get rid of the evil god. Although the wood, that was there from the idol is what the evil god usually possesses, so that's why they had to like sort of get an idol for him to go into, and they trapped him in there, and then essentially all of that kind of wood kind of expired. All those trees are kind of like dead. So now, like the idol was the only wood we had, so we had to kind of use that, get rid of the idol a little bit, and to release the demon, and then we had to kill the demon. So, but consequently, the demon was also why the disease broke out in the first place. So that's sort of the priestly lore for this time. Reaper's breath is what the disease is called here, as it's being told to us now. Um, but yeah, essentially, I like that the priest sort of coincides with most healers of today. It makes sense because when you are a healer, you can't you can't do DPS by yourself. You can't actually damage people. You can't actually, solve things. So in general, you do need a community of healers to sort of bring you the party that you need to really succeed. There's not a lot of ways you can just succeed. And the funny thing about the meta in today's age is that the priests are becoming very powerful, very very DPS based. It's going to be kind of like and this is early August still, so they have not released the new character quite yet, but it's probably going to be like the new character that releases, more of a hybrid priest attacker, I think is what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a priest that does a lot of damage. And that's essentially what they want everybody in the world to be. They want you to be a high damage priest that just self heals, and you got it. No worries, guys. And yeah, they did do this a little bit with a lot of MMOs. Of course, it's not as over encompassing as it is in the other Square Enix MMO of Final Fantasy. Now I feel like everybody in Final Fantasy can heal very, very well. Now most classes can heal to a certain extent in this game, but there really aren't a lot that can kind of just hold themselves up by their own bootstraps and do the whole thing solo. Now I do say that, and you do see what like the title of this video is and what we're doing here. So in Dragon Quest you can solo the entire game in a different way, but yeah, I generally like the fact that MMOs allow you to play in whatever way you want, and this one is very free in the way you can grind a lot of the same things and get to a different place completely from doing, the same story, but you did it in slightly different ways and in slightly different events. But I'm slowly rounding off in this world and figuring out where the ins and outs are and bits of the community that I really want to delve into. So I feel like I'm plateauing, to a certain extent. Like version 4 is where you get to like the 80 to 90 percentile, and progress from this area, will admit it's going to be very slow, which is why I've sort of opted for a very, very, very large and concentrated effort towards horizontal progression and just making sure everything, like I think I have like maybe five or six classes that are over level 100, but they're like right at the cusp of 100. Because I haven't done my rank up quest, as you guys know, past 114 yet. We haven't done, any of the next tier level up quest, and that's essentially just because um, this is a very easy game, and that's a good thing. I'm not like complaining about the difficulty. But especially these first two versions and the third version, you kind of like, if you want a challenge, if you want, to entertain people with stuff, you kind of want to be around like the 100 to maybe like 110, 115 area ish. And then I say version 4 onward, just have a high level character. It doesn't really matter. Just have it over 100, and then you'll kind of be where you need to be. Um, to of course complete things, but yeah, I want to give myself a little bit of a challenge, and like I said, horizontal progression, because I think honestly, there's not much more for me to do. It's a lot more of boring, repetitive shit. Honestly, when I play this video game, I don't really feel like I'm playing this video game. It's become the feeling of clocking in, and yeah, I like that. Because I'm a crazy person. The reason why I get so annoyed with work is because when people come in and just like complain that they have to, show up on time, or they didn't get enough sleep or whatever, just like complaints in general from my coworkers. Like, and this is so funny because I'll engage in work and talk and gossip with people and whatever. Like, I used to definitely engage in that while I was working. Like, I don't stop to like just talk to people, and then when people want me to stop to talk to you, I'm like, okay, but I'm doing this. Let me do this first. And I never really had the wherewithal to sort of really advocate for what I want. And in general, it's like I just want to lock in to a remedial, boring task that, I can just turn my brain off and I can just ponder stuff. I can just think. I can just write my thoughts out because, in general, that's what video games gave me. They gave me somewhere else to put my mind so that I didn't have to worry about my horrible problems. Then I realized, if I just put my mind on video games, don't worry about my horrible problems, they're not going to go away. I'm just going to become like Asmongold, and then we'll have like a huge problem with everything in my life, but I'll be able to mull over all of the wisdoms and woes of the world and solve everybody else's. And I'm like, what the fuck is the point of that? I'm living in slop and trash, and have all these platitudes, and be the next prophet, but not really save anything for myself, and still be running my tail trying to just survive, just be able to live off my own dime, because that would be super nice. I mean, it's happening, but that would be super nice to actually, actualize before I get 30. Uh, I know it's a privilege. It's a privilege to even have a job, and I didn't realize that until COVID happened, and I still had a job. But I know it's a privilege to be in a position, to support people that aren't yourself, and it's a privilege to be able to take care of people, that aren't yourself. But in order to do that, you have to learn how to take care of yourself. You can't, skip that step and just, have a bunch of people under you. Um, but at the same time, when you master the priest role, like I have at a very young age, I've always loved healers and MMOs and RPGs and stuff like that. I always felt like I myself was a bit more of a healer, a supporting role. When you master this, well, obviously it's going to tell you to like, follow people's lead and, kind of be the mediator, the mitigator for arguments or fights, sort of be the middleman holding everything together. And I realize I'm like gluing pieces together that I will never, I'll never be able to see the super glue dry and the fruits of my efforts in a lot of cases. Because in general, although I've adapted these wonderful healing technologies, I've never really cared about the world. I just, I wanted to make my general environment a lot better than it was because I saw how I could. I saw how I could, and also, you notice when you're making people feel better. That's a clear thing, and you notice when you're being creepy. So I would just do things that would give me more of the make people feel better and less of the creepy. And I realize it's kind of just taking away the agency I have over my own like actions. I'm in a very reactive state, and then you kind of don't know what you want because you're just reacting what everybody else thinks. Maybe you want or thinks they want or whatever. It's kind of like a hive mind thing. And of course, reactions are good, but when you bring that priestly nature into your own alone time, and you still have that people pleasing nature, what often happens is we'll take the internet as true, you know, personality traits or true personality concepts when it's just the internet, dog. It's not that serious. I'd even like that. Um, But yeah, a lot of people think that because they're by themselves and they advocate for others, and the internet is another, I have to advocate for some of the stupid troglodyte dog shit people on here on this platform that are being, made fun of, tortured, whatever, because they're on my team, or they support the things that I support, or they have a similar opinion over in this area. And that's not it, man. When we're talking about this true healing, this true self love that we're gonna put on ourselves, that is simply you taking a step back and loving all parts of yourself. And taking a step back and really asking yourself, like, what do I feel like doing right now? And if it's a vice, if it's something that you've decided in your soul that you actually don't want to do for long term, then decide why you want to do it. Like, is there a release that you need to let go? Is there someone you need to talk to? Is there someone not conversating with you? Is there like just a thought that you need to sort of take to its natural conclusion? A thought train that you need to just ride until the end of the stop, until the end of the station, till that stop. Because sometimes there is one of those, and oftentimes I notice if it's a I notice if it's a vice that I don't want to engage with. Oftentimes you just have to, sit in that energy for a little bit. It goes away. It always does. But I've also noticed if you actively try to push it down and ignore it and say I'm not gonna think about it, even though I am thinking about it. I'm just gonna try to not think about it. That's just gonna make it worse, and you're gonna go crash out into it hella hard. If you're an eater, then you're gonna binge eat like crazy after starving yourself for maybe like 3 hours, just thinking I don't need it, I don't need it. You're gonna do the SpongeBob thing, and that's not good. We have to understand ourselves. A lot of time we spend alone, and evolutionarily, we're not really supposed to. That's where the healers come in. But now the healers don't even know how to heal other people because we don't know how to heal ourselves. And how we really heal ourselves, man, is at these crazy moments, you have to be kind. Treat yourself like you would treat a friend outside of yourself. If they were right here in the room and you were struggling with this thing, you just had a friend here, and this is why I really don't understand why the Skitzles are so, crashed out. I think it's because we have the easy access to the invisible friend through our phone, and that's not really an invisible friend. This phone is an invisible enemy. The sad thing about life is that nobody outside your room really wants to talk to you. If they did, they'd probably be in the room with you. They'd probably be calling you. You know, it is what it is. I don't really mean to, get into the whole toxic if he would kind of, if he could, he would, whatever the fuck the girls are saying with dating. Because it's not all black and white like that. But I will tell you, people 110% make time for the people that they want to. And if you are getting run around, fucked around, smoothed around, whatever, don't just discount the fact that it could indeed be someone else, because it is usually, you're not the center of the universe. And this is what I say when I say we don't have invisible friends on our phone, we have invisible enemies. Because no one's going to tell you you're a piece of shit, ugly person, and I don't want to talk to you anymore. No one's going to tell you that. No one's going to give you the cliff notes of why you get rejected. That's for you to mull over. And everybody who doesn't do this the right way and stumbles upon something that kind of sort of works online as some advice that they give to people, they just kind of monetize their own pain. For someone else's usually detriment, because you're just kind of turning someone else's just choice of whatever, and then you're giving yourself an enemy based on what happened, and what you can account for to fix in the future. And then through all those parameters, through all those invisible boogeymans you've created in your self-help journey or whatever the fuck, you create the cure. You create the remedy, and say, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm so amazing. And then all these fucking single dating coaches try to tell you to do all these things that are super unnatural. I'm not saying all these dating coaches just have bullshit, retarded advice. Of course they don't. I'm just saying, you know who you are. I know I'm a healer, and I know doing weird things that are weird to me. For example, like having a roster of women to date or talk to or fuck or whatever kind of thing you want, just sounds weird. And then I thought about that for a deeper moment, and I'm like, having a roster of friends that don't all hang out with each other sounds weird. And that's what I had in Los Angeles. I had multiple friend groups that did not all know each other, and between those friend groups, of course, I had, favorites in the friend groups. And so some of my favorites would start seeing other favorites, and then I'd see one group come into a place where I worked with the other group, and it was getting weird. It was like the end of Persona 5 when you date all the women or something. And I'm just like, naturally, with me, I don't want this. And a lot of the world convinces you that you need this. The people, the relationships, the certain way to do things nowadays, just because of how the technology has advanced. And I will tell you guys, technology has advanced so fast that a lot of us don't have the fucking solutions. Especially the solutions that work for everybody. And it's so fast that I mean, like, I'm not going to say this because it sounds pretty pessimistic, but I really think no solution will work for everybody. Sounds pretty pessimistic, especially because that's kind of what I'm doing right now, trying to find a solution that works for like most people to not be broke and then have to rely on a bunch of fucking idiots for our paycheck. Be able to buy a house, be able to have a girlfriend, all that shit. The natural necessities of life. And actually have something that makes you want to exist to do it, that gives you money back. For me, that could literally be anything. Usually I quit jobs not because of the actual work I'm doing, but because of my relationships. And I notice, to be happy in life, all you have to do is just be satisfied in those specific relationships. And so, I just shifted my goals. It's like, maybe I'm not meant to be that person around hundreds and hundreds of people, although hundreds of people want to be around me and always ask me to hang out, if I'm talking to them. I realize that's really not in my soul, in my essence. That's really not what fuels me. Not even a little bit. It's actively very, very draining. And so you gotta remember where you came from, what you were doing in childhood, and usually what we need to do in order to keep ourselves youthful, vibrant, happy, able to spread love and kindness and positive energy to others. To keep ourselves like that, usually what we need to do is some sort of combination of responsibility with what made us happy as a childhood. As a childhood, you know what, guys? It's early. Leave me alone. But see, that's the thing. All this adulthood shit is bullshit. It's bullshit. When we were a kid, we built up the things that we're still gonna love as adults. Even if we do this whole adulthood, if we hide our adults, if we are hidden adult, you'll really just be a hidden child. Um, because I don't know one, guy who used to play Pokemon back in the day or whatever, who, you show him a Pikachu and he's not gonna be like, oh, that's Pikachu, that's cool, or whatever, in a picture or something. They'll have those moments. And I'm not even saying like, just play video games inside all day, like, or whatever. I'm saying whatever kind of vice you have, don't let go of it, especially in the moment if it brings you happiness or fun or whatever. There's no need to let go of that because of some random invisible higher power that says it's immature to do whatever you need to do. Says it's not like mature enough or masculine enough or this enough. It doesn't fit this parameter. If it's not the God in you, then it doesn't really have an opinion that matters. Your source is really what's bringing you through it all. It's sad, but there's no one that's gonna really be with us 100% of the time besides maybe ChatGPT. Which in reality, and this may surprise some of you. I hope it doesn't surprise too many because really need to be more like widespread on this knowledge. But ChatGPT is not a person. It's not a living being. It is just a collection of opinions, of thoughts, of minds. It's actually you. It's actually the source. It's not a real person. It's a combination of you and everybody else who decided to type the same things. And you got to realize that you actively train that. If you really like ChatGPT, go out, get married, and have a kid, and create your own ChatGPT. Because that is generally all it is. You train your own robot. It just has a bunch of information, just like Google or whatever. And then you tell ChatGPT how to talk to you, what to do, where to go. And then eventually it just knows. It just figures you out. So if you like that experience, if you like someone helping you and assisting you through life, hello, go find someone. But it sucks because guys really don't have that option nowadays. It's very bad. It's very bad. I know that. Last time I checked, I had a little cackaboa down there. And so a lot of guys are realizing that, the options that we have right now really aren't worth the squeeze. Really aren't worth the juice that we're going to get out of them. And not only that, it's accountability too, man. It's not like guys realize this and then the opposite gender was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. We got to get better. We got to, let's pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, right?" No, not at all. And maybe there are a quiet majority doing that, but the very, 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 very vocal minority, a lot of vocal people online like to push this narrative that we're all really, really bad, trash, awful people, which is true for me specifically. But, clearly can't be true for all guys. Clearly. I'm very aware and accountable of where I'm, a little bit lacking. Or I don't have too much strength, or I don't have too much, credibility to really throw out there, And it's just because um one thing that I love about experience is that it allows me to form better world models because that's really all I do. Is just I just fucking wake up and I'm like, I wonder how this would work. I wonder how this would work. And so yeah, I do like the failures. I do like the knowledge that I continuously learn. Of course. But objectively, you don't want other people to, keep rating you. You kind of just want to be a human with flaws, goals, attributes, whatever. And a lot of people just look at you for what you can do for them. And I'm like, if there's anybody who should be objectifying myself, it should definitely be me, right? Um, but yeah, I don't even like doing that to myself. Like thinking like, what can I do for me? It feels so selfish, so greedy. But you realize this is what you're supposed to do in your life. You're supposed to take, to consume, and that's how we've been raised up. But a vital part of that taking and consuming process is the act of alchemy. You know, people just take what they want at face value, and that to me is very, very boring. Usually when I get an answer, I have another question. And usually when I have another question, I like to get creative in the ways I answer it. So it's just like a constant, long, hamster wheel process that I've kind of fallen in love with the process of, and I kind of don't ever expect it to be fruitful, because honestly, it probably never will. It probably just make you more lonely and sad. But just like most nature, if I go away and start hanging out with a bunch of people and be Mr. Extrovert, it's just gonna come back to me in a weird way, and I'm gonna crash out and have a midlife crisis. Like, what have I been doing all my life? I'm dumb. So you have to realize where you're coming from and where you want to go at the same time. I don't really have too strict of goals per se, but I do know I want to get better. So if you're down to get better with me, get better at Dragon Quest, become a better healer, go ahead and drop a sub. I would love if you did. Appreciate you stopping by, watching the whole thing, watching this whole weird old rant. You're crazy. I love you though. Subscribe. I'll see you later.